On with us now is the daughter of B.B. King, Shirley King. Shirley, good morning. How are you, ma'am?
Oh, wow. I thought that was time for me to go on stage and perform. That clapping kind of deceived me there. I'm blessed. How are you?
I am doing good. It is a pleasure having you. Man, I don't even know where to start here other than saying, when's the last time you were back in Mississippi?
I was there. I came down. I still have to come that way because, they got my father at the museum there, and I live with him in my spirit. So I have to every now and then come through there just to let him know I'm carrying on. And I think it was 2019 I came down and went over to Ground Zero and hung out, and a band was playing, and I went out and bought a huge cake to celebrate my dad's birthday. And it was only about 10 people showed up. So we had a hard time eating that cake.
How about that?
It was a big one, and it was a good one. But I try to come there now because I feel that's the spirit of where my father is dwelling at.
What was your view and what were your perceptions when you first saw the museum itself?
Actually, I have not had a lot of dealing with the museum because it was a business of my father. My father didn't allow his kids to be involved in his business. That's why none of us are on the board or nobody has to hire me there because it's B.B. King Museum. So I respect my father's business. And when I first saw that happening, I was overjoyed for him because I know how long he had worked. I was around before he became famous. So it made me feel good to see. He would always say he would like 10 more years. He would like 5 more years. In other words, he was counting down how much of time he needed to do all the things he needed to do outside of being a performer. And I think that was one of the major things.
Well,
so we was all with him. He brought us all in from all over the place. He brought all his family there to be with him for that honor. He was so proud.
I know you talk about it, that the family, 15 kids all together, and everybody knows all about the troubles that happened after his death. We understand that. I guess some of those that litigation still going on.
Oh yes, for real. I mean, it's to the point where I just want to keep moving around. Building up my father's legacy because I didn't start fighting with him. When this was all going on, I was still trying to keep people in the focus of they knew what type of life my father lived. He was a very peaceful person. If there was anything going on in his personal life, he didn't bring it to the forefront. And he just didn't do them like they did him. So as me being the oldest daughter living, and the one that had lived around him and actually witnessed his struggle to success, I think I kind of thought different. And by me being in the business already, it made me know, because my father prepared me really well. He would always talk to me about things that I need to know as far as being in the business, things I should and shouldn't do. I mean, he actually would keep on saying to me how to live in this blues life business. So I would keep respect for myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew what not to do. And it was almost like, I know my dad is not here, but I have to keep on doing what he told me to do. And he told us not to try to change nothing that he established, and that was the rule. But nobody paid that no attention because sometimes people think when you're gone, they can do what they want. But I always feel like somebody is watching me to do something not right so they can say, I didn't have my father's love and respect at hand.
You are always in the spotlight. I'll tell you this, though, because you get to know some entertainers, and then when you start doing the stories about them after they're gone, then some people come up and say, well, behind the scenes, away from the microphone and the camera, he was just he was a terrible person. He was very rude. You can't say that about B.B. King. B.B. King on camera, off camera, before the mic, behind the mic, doesn't really matter. He was just a laid-back, good guy.
Always, even when he was becoming this person. I've never seen my father mad at nobody. I mean, and this is like, I was with him from the time I was 2.5 years until he left this earth. And I've always seen my father carry himself the same way. It was pretty hard to make him mad if you did something where it really did push a button. He would react and then it'd go away because he just wasn't that kind of person.
Yeah.
He wasn't busy holding hostility. He wasn't grudging nothing. He always say good things about people. We wouldn't even known if somebody had did something to him before he left Mississippi because he always said good things about everybody.
You know, I don't think people realize how tough it is for a guy like this because he was sometimes over 200, but I mean, he would be 200 performances a year. He would be out of town for most of, and I think probably most of your childhood.
I had to live with that. The other kids started coming in as my father got more famous. Mm-hmm. But from day one, when my father started out, going across the bridge to West Memphis to play, and that's kind of where he met my mom at, and that's kind of where I came in from him coming to West Memphis. But after that, I just kept seeing him doing the same thing over and over. I mean, working hard all the time and still trying to make it work between taking care of me or coming to see me and his family, because it wouldn't be just me, because he kept the whole family together.
Yep.
The mother, the father, the sisters, all the kids. I mean, it was always a big group of people living on my father. And at first, he had the young man thing going, loving the women's and gambling. And his father didn't play. And he was like I am about him. That's the way he was about his father. He always wanted his father to be proud and happy of him. And he just did anything it took. And one while, when he was gambling a little too much, my grandfather told him, if you can't stop that gambling, I'm going to get you a job at Firestone with me. And my dad had tightened up and stopped that gambling because he wanted his father to be happy with him.
He did turn out the right way, though, yeah. Yeah,
he always wanted to please the people he loved, and he took very good care of everybody until the day he left this earth.
That's true. He bankrolled college tuitions for most of the kids, did he not?
Oh, and it was set up for it to keep on happening. And, the lawyers done got all the money. Different business people came in taking money. Now, it's never going to stop. But they're not being blessed because when a good man works hard to do something, you'll put a curse on yourself trying to misuse that good person. Because my dad was a good man. And anybody that's using B.B. King name should respect that and treat it with
I agree with you 100%. I was reading an article from Scott Johnson, and Scott said when B.B. King died, he left to the world a body of work spanning so much, 6 decades, that brought joy and comfort to millions. The legend who brought us The Thrill Is Gone and Sweet 16 transformed American music, inspiring such rockers as Eric Clapton, Willie Nelson, and Buddy Guy. He was 89 years old when he died, 2015. Doesn't seem that long ago, May the 15th.
Right. Well, I still get a chance to hear it and witness everything that was good about my father, because I'm on Facebook, and if it wasn't for Facebook, I think I would have went and leaped off a building just so I could be with my dad.
I know. Listen, do me a favor. Let's talk about you and your new music coming up in a moment or two. Can you hang on for a second?
Yes.
All right, we'll talk about. So I want to switch over and talk a little bit about you, because I think you said the people that impressed you the most were people like Etta James and some of those people, some great singers, Mahalia Jackson. But you wanted to be a dancer, or you were a dancer for a long time, and you came to the music business kind of late, did you not?
I wanted to be a dancer, and I was a dancer for 21 years, one of the greatest. I left the field of dancing with people wanting more of Shirley King.
What kind of dance did you do?
Well, back in the day, we had here in Chicago, it was always a show town. Mm-hmm. It wasn't where musicians came on and just jammed out some guitar and whatever. You had to have a show act. So I was the dancer to back up a lot of the stars that would come here and work, because I was working with the top blues radio jock, which was my father's manager named Purvis Spann. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you know, he was also working with the Jackson 5 when they was just starting out. So all the different people that came here were not blues people. They were R&B, they were soul, you know, James Brown, Jackie Will. Everybody came to Chicago. And I got a chance to be the dancer behind those shows, because what they would do, they would have a variety. It was like the old days in the 40s when you got a little bit of everything in a show. And that's how I got a chance to dance, like, for 21 years, social clubs and everything. It was show dancing. But people like to call us strip shake dancers, because that was the name for it, because you were doing exotic dancing.
It was truly more of a variety show than it is today. It was kind of a variety show. You're right. It was a big stage presence. Yeah.
I miss it so much. I mean, you know, this is what I started out seeing my father do. I didn't get a chance to see the dancers on the show with him, but when you would go and see B.B. King back in the early days, you would see Sam Cooke, Jackie Wilson, James Brown. I mean, you would see a show. And that's how I got a chance to see Ella Jane when I was 13 years old. For a long time, it was just all men performers. And one time, because this is the way I had to see my dad, I would have to, a place that they would allow me to come in. They would allow me to come in and sit on the stage, and I would watch my dad, and I get a chance to say hi and bye, because that's how hard it was.
Do you?
And, I would see.
Do you remember, Shirley, the first time your dad saw your performance, as far as professionally?
Oh my God, yes, I do. Woo. So many good stories behind me and my dad, as him being out there already, coming, seeing me getting into what he asked me to do it because I want to do it, not because of him. But the first time he saw me dancing was very, very funny, because I was considered as a contortionist. In other words, I could fold up and do things, you know, with my body that people saw it as me being a contortionist. That's what I found out what I was doing. I didn't know it first. And the first time that my dad saw me, some of the entertainers had got him to come to the show, and they didn't tell me he was going to be there. And, of course, by me being a dancer, I wouldn't intend to dance in front of my father. You know, that was something he wasn't supposed to see, right? So they sneaked him in the club, and I was up there getting down, and I had folded up and looked between my legs, and whose face did I look straight at? There he was sitting there. I almost died. I almost couldn't get up. But when I got up and went to the dressing room later on, he told me how proud he was of me and was asking me how did I learn how to do all that and everything. In other words, I expected to be him to not feel good about what I was doing, but he made me feel really proud that I was talented, you know, because he went to asking questions. When did I learn how to do that? Because he wasn't around to see all my talent. Yeah. In school, I was very good in plays and musicals. Then when I said I was going to sing the blues, I went on the circuit and started watching people, and I started everything I decided to do to be like my dad, I did it.
Did he give you any critique, or did he, when the first time he saw you singing in a singing performance, was he all in?
The first time he saw me sing, a place in Milwaukee where he had been coming a lot. He was going up there pretty regularly because he was playing up there because of the promoters and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so one time when he was going to be up there, people used to do it all the time. If they found out my dad was going to be in town, they would bring me to another club so that club could make money off of B.B. King being in the town that night. And they wanted him to come over to the club so they could promote that B.B. King was stopping by. But he had told me why he couldn't do that, because it would cause him to have problems with his promoter and the people that was booking him. They didn't think it was fair for him to get explored when he was. So he said he wasn't coming to my show, and I was up there singing, getting down. People was clapping and enjoying me, and all of a sudden I went to singing to chairs. Nobody sitting there watching me, and I was like, what? And there he was standing at the back door. Everybody saw him come in. They left me singing and went back there to him. So he explained to me that was another reason why he didn't want to be coming to my shows because that would happen.
That's a very good point.
Always,
yeah. That's a father's wisdom that you don't think about then. Are these stories in the 2017 memoirs that you did? Most of these stories, I think the name of the book is Love is King.
Thank God it's not. I'm still not getting paid for that book, but this is going to be in the new book that I'm going to do myself, because I'm glad I saved the best for last, because I need to leave something with my kids. They just worship my father all the time. They don't even understand. Like, we got Booker White before Daddy. We got Daddy, now you got me. And this is why I'm glad that I waited to put all this in there, because right now I'm getting ready to try to pull a crew together. I'm coming down Mississippi, Arkansas, and Tennessee, and I'm going to create my own book from real life, because I can talk about everything from Arkansas to Tennessee, right up until Mississippi.
Even the days on a burner we used to call, and we lived into the shadow of WDIA. Boy, that was a big boomer for many, many years as far as WDIA, and he was a jock there, a disc jockey there for a while.
Well, I was around. I mean, like I said, my dad had came to Mississippi, but he was still married. And my mom didn't really know that, because she thought once she got pregnant, my grandmother said, "You gonna marry my daughter, because I'm not taking care of your baby." And you know how people were back in the day.
Yeah.
And my father was acting like he was able to do it because he didn't want to upset my grandmother, and he didn't want to hurt my mother's feelings. But we found out later that he was still married to Martha when I was born. And after that, my mama said, "Forget this. I want to get married to a man that's not going to be traveling." So she got married. Here I am, 2 years old, and my father, didn't want to disrespect her husband. So that's how I got involved.
Amazing.
And ended up staying with my father.
It's one of the ingredients to be able to sing and play the blues like B.B. King did. We're almost out of time here, but I just want to ask you, has the legal riff been to the point where you really don't have too much communication with any of the siblings?
I don't, because they're doing so much disrespect to my father's name and legacy that they don't understand. So I'm working on coming down there sometime before my dad's birthday, because I'm starting moving around trying to keep the legacy. People are still doing Mudwater and Howland Wolf. Ain't nobody really even talking about B.B. King right now. And that's because of the family. If people were sticking together, they could be making the legacy look really good, especially since my father was good to everybody. But they're not, so I'm trying to do it single-handedly. And it's not easy because they got it set up. When they went and took things away from Laverne, they set it up where so many people vote for stuff. And if you don't know what you're doing, I'm not going to do that. So it's rough.
At the end of the day, only the lawyers are making money on this one. We almost got a time to go, but many of
that's all that's been happening. The whole time.
I can understand that. I do want to.
So I'm working. That's why this CD came out, because people that saw that I was struggling and so I deserve a little bit better grabbed me and put me with a record label that wasn't even a blues label, and recorded me. And most of these songs are not even blues songs, and that gave me a big lift, because the guitar players they used on here has the attention already, and that brought me in the forefront with this.
I got it. The name of the CD or the name of the album is called Shirley King, Blues for a